Welcome to Monk's Temple. Thank you for being here. Take a breath. Just one, deep, conscious breath. Feel the air fill your lungs, and as you exhale, feel the tension in your shoulders begin to soften, just a little. This space, this moment right now, is for you. It's a sanctuary from the constant noise of doing, and a gentle invitation into simply being. We're going to talk about something today that touches every single one of our lives. It's a silent companion, a familiar whisper, and sometimes, a very loud, shouting presence in the back of our minds. It's that feeling you know all too well. The feeling of knowing exactly what you should be doing, feeling the weight of it, perhaps even having it written down on a list in front of you, and yet, finding yourself doing something else entirely. Scrolling through your phone, organizing a drawer that didn't need organizing, watching just one more video. We call this procrastination. And we often treat it like a personal failing, a character flaw, a sign that we are somehow broken or lazy. But what if I told you that the way we typically understand procrastination is wrong? What if it's not a problem of laziness at all, but a profound misunderstanding of our own minds? What if it's actually a signal, a message your deeper self is trying to send you, and we just keep ignoring the message because we're too busy judging the messenger? Today, we are going to embark on a journey together. We're going to pull back the layers of this ancient habit. We'll look at it not just as a modern struggle with to-do lists and deadlines, but as a fundamental human experience that has been understood for millennia. We'll explore what the mind of a Buddha, an awakened one, understood about this resistance. And we'll weave that timeless wisdom with modern psychological insights, creating a practical, compassionate, and deeply effective path toward freedom. This isn't about forcing yourself to be a machine. This isn't about sheer willpower and self-flagellation. This is about understanding the architecture of your own mind. It's about learning to become a gentle, curious observer of your own thoughts and feelings, so that you can finally make peace with the part of you that resists, and move forward with clarity and ease. So, settle in. Get comfortable. This is your time. Let's begin. Let's start by dismantling the biggest lie we tell ourselves: I am a procrastinator. I am lazy. When you label yourself that way, you're not describing a behavior, you're describing an identity. And identities are incredibly sticky. If you believe you are a lazy person, then every time you face a task, your brain will simply confirm its programming: this is hard. You are lazy. This confirms who you are. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Think about a small child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they get back up. Do we look at that child and say, "What a procrastinator. They're just not committed to walking"? Of course not. We see a natural process of growth, of building strength and coordination. The resistance the child feels isn't laziness, it's the challenge of coordinating muscles that have never been used that way before. Their mind and body are learning. Procrastination in an adult is similar. It's not a sign that you are fundamentally lazy. It's a sign that there is a gap between your intention and your action, and in that gap, something else is living. That something else is often a very primitive, very human part of your brain. Let's call it your lizard brain. Story 1: The Ancient Security Guard. Imagine the CEO of a massive, futuristic corporation. She's brilliant, visionary, and has a to-do list a mile long. Her office is a sleek, glass-walled room on the 50th floor. But guarding the door to her office is a security guard. This isn't just any security guard. He's ancient, dressed in furs, carrying a spear, and he doesn't speak the same language as the CEO. His name is Lizard Brain. His only job, for thousands of years, has been to keep the CEO safe from immediate threats. Tigers, starvation, freezing to death. He's excellent at his job. When a saber-toothed tiger approaches, he slams the door shut and hides the CEO in a corner. This kept our ancestors alive. Now, the CEO wants to work on a complex quarterly report. It's not a tiger, but to Lizard Brain, it represents a threat. It's new, it's uncertain, it requires energy, and there's a potential for failure. Failure, to Lizard Brain, could mean being kicked out of the tribe, and being kicked out of the tribe in ancient times meant certain death. So, what does Lizard Brain do? He doesn't understand the quarterly report. He just sees the CEO approaching the door of focused work, and he panics. He slams the door shut. He whispers, "Danger. Don't go in there. It's cold and scary. Let's go do something safe instead. Let's go check the perimeter for tigers." For us, checking the perimeter means opening Instagram. It means making a snack. It means reorganizing your bookshelf. It's the same ancient mechanism, just with modern tools. Procrastination, then, isn't you being lazy. It's your ancient security guard, Lizard Brain, trying to protect you from the perceived threat of effort, uncertainty, or potential failure. He's doing his job. The problem is, he's wildly unqualified for the modern world. He can't tell the difference between a tiger and a tax return. The first step to freedom isn't fighting Lizard Brain. He's strong and has been on the job for millennia. The first step is to become aware of him. To see him for what he is, a well-meaning but outdated part of your own mind. And that's where we begin our practice. If this perspective is already shifting something inside you, if the idea of making peace with your mind instead of fighting it resonates, please take a moment to subscribe to Monk's Temple. This is a space for exactly these kinds of gentle explorations, and having you as part of our community would be a true blessing. Just click the button below, and let's continue this journey together. So, how do we deal with this ancient security guard? How do we communicate with him, calm him down, and eventually, retrain him? This is where the wisdom of the Buddha, an enlightened being who mapped the human mind over 2,500 years ago, becomes an invaluable guide. He didn't have a concept of a lizard brain, but he understood this inner resistance perfectly. He called it by different names: laziness, sloth, torpor, and sensual desire. In a beautiful verse from the Dhammapada, a collection of his sayings, he lays out a clear path. He said, if a person is energetic, if they are mindful, if they are pure in deed and word, if they act with consideration and self-control, then their reputation and well-being will increase. This verse is a treasure map. It gives us the three essential tools, or three powers, we need to skillfully work with our resistant mind. They are, the power of mindfulness, the power of wise effort, and the power of understanding desire. Let's explore each one in depth. The first and most crucial power is mindfulness. The Buddha said we must be mindful. But what does that mean in the context of procrastination? It's not just about focusing on your breath. It's about becoming the CEO of your own mind, the one who can see what lizard brain is doing without getting pulled into his panic. Mindfulness is the ability to observe your thoughts and feelings as they arise, without judgment, without getting swept away by them. It's the difference between being in the movie and being the person watching the movie from the audience. When you're sitting at your desk, and that familiar feeling of, "I don't want to do this," arises, mindfulness is the split second where you notice it. You see the thought, "Should check my phone." But instead of your hand immediately reaching for it, there's a pause. In that pause, you have a choice. Imagine your mind is a busy train station. Thoughts and feelings are trains that are constantly pulling into the station. There's the anxiety train, the excitement train, the boredom train, and yes, the procrastination express. Most of our lives, we are not the station master. We are passengers. A train pulls in, and without thinking, we jump on board. The worry train comes, and we hop on, letting it take us on a long journey through all our fears. The procrastination express pulls in, with its promise of quick relief and easy distraction, and we jump on, not realizing it's just going to take us in circles. Mindfulness is the practice of stepping back from the platform and becoming the station master. You see the procrastination express pulling in. Its doors open. The music from inside sounds catchy and tempting. As the station master, you don't have to get on. You can stand there, observe the train, see its color, hear its sound, and simply say, "Ah, there you are." The procrastination express. Right on time. And you let it sit there, or you let it leave the station, while you remain on the platform, grounded and at peace. This is the first power. It's the ability to create a space between the impulse and the action. In that space is your freedom. When you can see the lazy thought arise and recognize it as a thought of laziness, rather than, "I am lazy," you have already begun to break its spell. You are no longer the thought, you are the one witnessing the thought. The second power the Buddha speaks of is energy, or what we might call wise effort. This is a crucial distinction. It's not the effort of a drill sergeant, screaming and pushing and forcing. That kind of effort is born from resistance, and it always leads to burnout. Wise effort is the energy of a flowing river. It's persistent, but it follows the path of least resistance, gently wearing down obstacles over time. How do we apply wise effort to procrastination? We stop trying to leap over the mountain in a single bound. We stop looking at the massive, intimidating task and telling ourselves we have to work on it for 3 hours. That's like telling lizard brain we're going to wrestle a herd of tigers. He'll slam the door shut even harder. Wise effort is about making the first step so small, so ridiculously easy, that lizard brain doesn't even perceive it as a threat. The Buddha didn't explicitly say, "Start with 5 minutes," but the principle is woven throughout his teachings on the middle way, avoiding the extremes of indulgence and self-mortification. There was once a brilliant pianist, a woman whose music had once filled concert halls. But after a personal tragedy, she found herself unable to play. She would sit at her piano, her hands hovering over the keys, and a wall of sheer terror would rise up inside her. The thought of playing a full concerto, of even playing a simple sonata, was so overwhelming, so associated with her pain, that she was completely paralyzed. Her lizard brain had associated the piano with a tiger. For months, she couldn't even touch the keys. Her piano sat in her living room, a monument to her grief and her perceived failure. Then, a teacher gave her a simple instruction. He said, "Do not play. Do not even try to play a song. Your only task, for 1 week, is this: every morning, before you do anything else, walk to the piano and press one single key. Just one. Middle C, press it, listen to its sound, and then walk away. It seemed absurd. Childish. But she agreed. The first morning, even that felt difficult. Her hand trembled as she reached out. But she pressed the key. Plink. It was just a sound. No concerto. No expectation. She walked away. The next day, she did it again. Plink. And again. After a week, pressing that single key had become so easy, so free of charge, that her hand, almost of its own accord, pressed another key afterwards. Plink. Plunk. It was 2 notes. And she felt a tiny, almost forgotten flicker of joy. This is the power of the absurdly small start. By asking her to press just one key, the teacher bypassed her lizard brain's defenses. There was no threat. It was just one note. From that one note, momentum was born. The river of her energy began to flow again, a single drop at a time. Within months, she was playing again. Not because she forced herself, but because she started so small that resistance had nothing to grab onto. When you need to study, don't tell yourself you'll study for an hour. Tell yourself you'll read 1 paragraph. 1 sentence. When you need to write a report, tell yourself you'll write 1 sentence. Just 1. Open the document, type 1 sentence, and if you want to stop, you can. What you will almost always find is that the hardest part was just opening the document. Just pressing the first key. Once you've started, the river's flow takes over, and doing a little more becomes easier than stopping. The third power is what the Buddha called controlling sensual desires. Now, that sounds very monastic and severe, doesn't it? It might conjure images of monks giving up all worldly pleasures. But in the context of our everyday lives, it's something far more practical and essential. It's about understanding the nature of desire, and learning to choose a deeper, more lasting well-being over a quick, fleeting pleasure. When you're lying in a warm, comfortable bed on a cold morning, and your alarm goes off telling you it's time to meditate, or exercise, or study, what do you feel? You feel a desire to stay in the warmth. That desire is real. The comfort is real. The Buddha isn't saying that comfort is bad. He's asking us to look deeper. What is the cost of that comfort? Imagine you are sailing a small boat towards a beautiful island. This island represents your long-term goals, your well-being, your fulfilled potential. It's a lush, green place with fresh water and abundant fruit. The journey is steady. The sun is warm. Suddenly, you come across another island. This one is small, artificial, and brightly lit. It's called the Island of Instant Pleasure. On this island, there are arcades, candy shops, and comfortable hammocks. There's no work to be done here. You can just consume and relax. A voice from the island calls out, "Hey! Come ashore. Why are you working so hard? Rest here. It feels good. It does feel good. For a while." The problem is, this island has no fresh water. It has no real sustenance. The candy and games are empty calories for the soul. The longer you stay, the more your boat drifts off course. The beautiful island of your potential gets further and further away. The sun begins to set, and you realize you're stranded on this tiny, artificial rock, feeling sick from all the candy, having made no progress. The warm bed, the social media feed, the mindless TV show, these are our islands of instant pleasure. They promise relief, but they deliver emptiness. The Buddha's teaching isn't to never visit these islands. It's to see them for what they are. To recognize the siren song for what it is. He's asking us to cultivate the wisdom to say, I see you, island of instant pleasure. And right now, I choose the journey. I choose the destination that truly matters. Every time you choose to leave the warm bed, you are not just being disciplined. You are casting a vote for your future self. You are telling your mind that you value long-term happiness over short-term comfort. You are strengthening the muscle of wise choice. This is the true meaning of controlling desire, not suppressing it, but understanding its fleeting nature and choosing a deeper satisfaction. So, we have our three powers: mindfulness to see the guard, wise effort to sneak past him, and understanding desire to see the value in the journey. Now, let's look at the mechanics of how this actually changes the brain. Because procrastination is a habit, a well-worn neural pathway. And the beautiful news from modern neuroscience is that our brains are plastic, they can change. Every time you give in to procrastination, you are taking a walk down a familiar path in the forest of your mind. The path gets wider, easier to find. Every time you choose to take action, even a tiny action, you are forging a new path. At first, it's just a faint trail, overgrown with bushes. It's hard work to push through. But every time you choose it, the path gets a little clearer, a little easier to walk. There was a small village at the base of a great mountain. The villagers needed to get to a sacred lake on the other side for their most important ceremony. There were two paths. The first path was a gentle, downhill trail that started right behind the village. It was a pleasure to walk. It led through beautiful, flower-filled meadows. The villagers loved this path. They would start their journey, enjoying the scenery, the easy walk. But after a few hours, the path would simply stop at the edge of a vast, impassable chasm. They could go no further. They would have to turn back, having wasted the day, and return to the village with nothing but tired feet. The second path was different. It started with a steep, rocky incline right at the edge of the village. It looked hard, uninviting, and required immediate effort. Many villagers wouldn't even consider it. But those few who did, who pushed past the initial discomfort, found that after that first steep climb, the path evened out. It became a beautiful, winding trail that led safely and surely all the way to the sacred lake. The first, easy path is the path of procrastination. It feels good in the moment, but it leads to a dead end. The second, initially difficult path is the path of action. The first step is the hardest, the steepest. But it is the only path that leads to the destination. We must learn to see procrastination for what it is, a pleasant-looking path to nowhere. And we must learn to trust the path that begins with a little effort, knowing that it is the only path to our sacred lake, to our fulfilled potential. Let's get even more practical. Knowing the theory is one thing, applying it in the heat of the moment is another. Here are several tools, all grounded in the principles we've discussed, that you can use to gently guide yourself back to action. Tool 1, the 5-minute rule, or the 1-minute rule. This is our wise effort in action. When you feel resistance to a task, just tell yourself you will do it for 5 minutes. Anyone can do anything for 5 minutes. Set a timer. The agreement with your mind is that after the timer goes off, you have full permission to stop. What you'll discover, 9 times out of 10, is that the resistance evaporates once you start. The hardest part is the initial incline of the mountain path. Once you're on the trail, the momentum of the river carries you forward. If you really can't face 5 minutes, make it 1 minute. 1 minute of meditation, 1 minute of writing, 1 minute of tidying. The act of starting is the victory. Tool 2, the after this game. This is a way of working with your mind's desire for pleasure, not against it. Tell yourself, after I study this chapter for 25 minutes, I will allow myself to check my phone for 5 minutes. Or, after I finish this one task, I will make that cup of tea I've been craving. You are not denying yourself the island of instant pleasure, you are simply putting it after the work, turning it into a reward rather than a distraction. This gives your mind a clear, positive goal to look forward to, making the initial effort feel more like a bridge to something good, rather than a punishment. Tool 3, the compassionate observer. When you catch yourself procrastinating, do not add a layer of shame. Don't say, "Ugh, I'm so lazy, I did it again." This is just lizard brain getting upset at lizard brain. Instead, channel your inner mindfulness. Become the station master. Silently note, procrastination is here. My mind is seeking comfort. That's understandable. What is the smallest, kindest step I can take right now to get back on track? Treat yourself with the same gentle encouragement you would offer a dear friend who was struggling. Shame creates more resistance. Compassion creates safety, and from safety, action can arise more easily. A young apprentice went to a master potter. "Master," he said, "I want to make a beautiful vase. But every time I sit at the wheel, the clay feels cold and resistant. I struggle to even center it. I feel like a failure." The master potter smiled and led the apprentice to a bucket of water. He took a lump of the dry, stiff clay and submerged it in the water. "Wait," he said. After a few minutes, he took the clay out. It was now soft, pliable, and responsive to his touch. He placed it on the wheel and, with gentle, steady pressure, centered it in moments. The dry, resistant clay, the master said, is your mind when it is filled with judgment and force. You try to command it, and it hardens against you. The water is your awareness, your patience, your self-compassion. You must first soak your mind in the water of understanding before you can shape it. Don't fight the clay. Soak it. Soften it. Then, the shaping becomes effortless. When you feel the resistance of procrastination, your mind is dry clay. Don't try to force it onto the wheel. First, soak it in the water of mindfulness and compassion. Acknowledge the feeling. Accept it without judgment. Soften around it. Then, and only then, apply the gentlest pressure of wise effort. Start with the smallest, softest touch. From this place, your actions will flow with far greater ease. We've focused a lot on the inner world. But the outer world, our environment, plays a massive role in feeding or starving our procrastination habit. Lizard brain is easily distracted. If you put a flashing, beeping device next to him, he will be constantly triggered. Creating a supportive environment is an act of profound self-care. It's not about being strict, it's about making the wise path the easy path, and the unwise path the hard path. There was once a king who loved his garden. It was vast and beautiful, but it had one problem: a single, thorny, ugly weed that grew right in the center of his favorite walking path. Every day, he would walk in his garden, and every day, he would see that weed. He would think, "I really must pull that weed out." But he was a busy king. There were always more pressing matters. The weed remained. Years passed. The king grew old. The weed, now a huge, gnarled bush, had spread its seeds across the entire path. The path became impassable. What had once been a simple task, pulling a small weed, was now a monumental project requiring a team of gardeners. The small weed is the environmental trigger. Your phone on your desk, the TV remote within arm's reach, the messy workspace. In the moment, it seems small, insignificant. It's just my phone, it's not bothering me. But every time you see it, it plants a tiny seed of distraction. Over time, those seeds grow, and the path to your focused work becomes completely overgrown. The wise king, the wise version of you, would have recognized the weed as the threat it was. The wise action is to design your environment so that the weeds simply aren't there. When you sit down to work, put your phone in another room. Not on silent, in another room. Close all unnecessary browser tabs. Clear your physical space. Make the path to focused work a clear, wide, beautiful avenue. Make the path to distraction a long, difficult walk to another room. This isn't a test of willpower, it's a strategy of wisdom. You are not fighting lizard brain, you are just not inviting him to the party. As we come to the end of our long journey together, I want to offer you a final, perhaps paradoxical thought. What if procrastination itself, when met with mindfulness, could become a path to awakening? We usually see it as an enemy to be vanquished. But every time that feeling of resistance arises, it is an opportunity. It's a bell of mindfulness ringing, inviting you to become present. It's a chance to practice the three powers. The resistance arises. You feel the pull towards distraction. In that moment, you have a choice. And in that choice, your entire life is revealed. If you react unconsciously, you strengthen the old habit. If you respond with mindfulness, you forge a new one. This is the practice. It's not about one day reaching a perfect state where you never procrastinate again. That's another island of instant pleasure, a fantasy that keeps us from the real work. The real work is the moment-by-moment practice of noticing, accepting, and gently choosing. An old, renowned sculptor was asked on his deathbed what he considered his greatest masterpiece. His students expected him to point to one of the magnificent marble statues that stood in galleries around the world. They were perfect, lifelike, breathtaking. The sculptor smiled weakly and pointed to a rough, unpolished block of stone in the corner of his studio. It was the very first block he had ever worked on. It had a few crude, amateurish marks on it. The students were confused. "Master, it's just an old, failed block. Your masterpieces are out there, in the world." "No," the sculptor whispered. "This is my greatest work. This block is where I learned to be a sculptor. Every mistake I made on this stone taught me how to create the ones that came after. Without this rough, imperfect beginning, there would be no masterpieces. This failure is the foundation of everything. Your procrastination is your rough block of stone. It is not the enemy of your masterpiece, it is the raw material for it. Every time you work with it, learn from it, and gently chisel away at it with mindfulness and compassion, you are not just getting a task done. You are sculpting yourself. You are becoming a person of greater awareness, greater wisdom, and greater peace. So, the next time you find yourself avoiding a task, don't panic. Don't judge. Just take a breath. Smile, if you can. And recognize that your old friend lizard brain is just trying to do his job. Thank him for his concern. And then, with the gentlest of effort, press a single key. Take one small step. Forge one new, faint trail in the forest of your mind. This is the path. It's not about reaching a destination where there is no resistance. It's about learning to walk so gracefully with the resistance that it no longer blocks your way. It becomes just another texture on the path, another rock to step around, another view to acknowledge as you continue your journey toward the sacred lake of your own deepest potential. May you be peaceful. May you be gentle with yourself. And may you find joy in the simple, profound act of beginning. Thank you for walking this path with me here at Monk's Temple. Until we meet again. Now that we've established a foundation of mindfulness, wise effort, and understanding desire, let's go deeper. Let's open the hood of the mind and look at the engine itself. What are the specific fuel sources that keep the procrastination engine running? In Buddhist psychology, particularly in the Abhidhamma, the mind is analyzed with incredible precision. It teaches us that unwholesome mental states don't arise without causes and conditions. They are fed by something. Procrastination, as a habit, is fed by 4 primary drivers. Understanding these drivers is like a doctor understanding the specific bacteria causing an infection. Once you know what you're dealing with, the treatment becomes clear. This is perhaps the most common and most hidden driver. It wears a mask. It pretends to be laziness, but underneath, it's terror. The fear of failure says, if I do this task and I don't do it perfectly, I will have proven that I am not good enough. So what does the mind do? It simply doesn't start. If you never start, you never fail. It's a twisted form of self-protection. There was once a calligrapher named Kenji, renowned throughout the land for his exquisite brushstrokes. His characters were alive, breathing with beauty. People traveled for days just to watch him work. But Kenji had a secret. In his private studio, hidden in the back of his house, there was an empty canvas that had been there for 7 years. It was a canvas for a painting, not calligraphy. He had dreamed of painting a single bamboo stalk, just once, with a brush. Every few months, he would go into that room. He would mix the ink. He would stare at the blank canvas. He would raise his brush. And then his hand would tremble. His heart would race. And he would put the brush down, clean it carefully, and leave the room. One day, his young granddaughter followed him. She watched him go through this ritual. As he was about to leave again, she asked, "Grandfather, why don't you paint?" Kenji sighed. "Because, little one, I am afraid." "Afraid of what?" she asked, her eyes wide. "I am afraid," he said slowly, "that the bamboo I paint will not be as beautiful as the bamboo I imagine." The little girl laughed. "But grandfather, you are the best calligrapher in the land. You make mistakes all the time in your calligraphy, and you just fix them or start over. Why is this different?" Kenji stopped. He had never thought of it that way. In his calligraphy, mistakes were part of the process. But in his mind, this painting had to be perfect from the very first stroke. He had placed the entire weight of his self-worth on a single, perfect image that existed only in his head. He looked at the little girl, then at the canvas. He walked over, dipped his brush, and without a moment's hesitation, he made a single, long, imperfect stroke. It was crooked. The ink bled in one spot. It was nothing like the bamboo in his imagination. And he smiled. For the first time in 7 years, he smiled in that room. He had broken the spell. The imagined perfect bamboo had held him prisoner. The real, imperfect bamboo had set him free. This is the fear of failure. We hold an image of perfect execution in our minds, and we refuse to start until we can guarantee that perfection. But life doesn't offer guarantees. It offers only the canvas, the brush, and the moment. The masterpiece is not the one that exists perfectly in your head, it is the one you have the courage to begin, however imperfectly. This driver is more subtle, and often goes completely unnoticed. Fear of success isn't about being afraid of achieving something. It's about being afraid of what happens after you achieve it. It's the voice that whispers, if you succeed, more will be expected of you. If you succeed, you will have to keep succeeding. If you succeed, you will become visible, and visibility brings scrutiny. You might outgrow your current relationships. You might have to become a different person. In a small coastal village, there lived a fisherman named Mateo. He was skilled, but he always fished in the same small cove, never venturing into the deeper waters. Every day, he would catch just enough to feed his family and sell a little at the market. It was a simple, safe life. One day, a massive storm pushed his boat far out to sea. When the storm cleared, he found himself in waters he had never seen. And there, circling his boat, was a fish so large, so magnificent, that he could hardly believe his eyes. It was the kind of fish that fishermen tell stories about around fires. His heart pounded. He reached for his spear. This one catch could feed his village for a month. It would make him a legend. But as he raised his spear, a thought stopped him cold. If I catch this fish, he thought, everything will change. People will expect me to catch more like it. I will have to go into deeper waters, face bigger dangers. I will no longer be the simple fisherman from the small cove. I will be something else. Someone else. His hand trembled. The fear of the unknown future, the fear of outgrowing his own identity, was stronger than his desire for the catch. He lowered his spear. He watched the giant fish swim away into the depths, and he felt a strange mixture of relief and deep, profound sorrow. He had protected his old self by sabotaging his potential. He returned to his small cove, to his small catches, to his small life. And for the rest of his days, whenever he sat by the fire with the other fishermen, he would fall silent when they told tales of great catches. He knew he had let his future self drown in the safe waters of the past. Procrastination can be this. It can be the spear you lower because you are not ready to become the person who catches the giant fish. The task you avoid might not just be a task, it might be an initiation into a new version of yourself. And that, more than the hard work, is what truly frightens us. This driver is about autonomy. When we feel that a task is imposed upon us, by a boss, by a parent, by society, by circumstances we didn't choose. Procrastination can become a form of silent rebellion. It's the mind's way of saying, "You can't make me. I will do this, but I will do it on my timeline, in my way, even if it hurts me in the process." It's cutting off your nose to spite your face, but it feels, in the moment, like a reclaiming of power. A young prince named Ashok was next in line to the throne. His father, the king, was a wise and beloved ruler, but he was also demanding. From the time Ashok was a boy, his life was a series of lessons: statecraft, economics, military strategy, diplomacy. Every moment was scheduled. Every task was assigned. Ashok did everything asked of him, but he did it with a dragging slowness, a subtle incompetence. He would arrive late to his lessons. He would forget key documents. His tutors despaired. They called him lazy, unfocused, unfit to rule. What they didn't see was the rebellion burning in his young heart. He didn't want to be king. He didn't choose this life. But he couldn't say no to his father. So he said no in the only way he could, through passive resistance. Procrastination was his sword. One day, his father called him to the throne room. The king was old now, tired. He looked at his son, not with anger, but with sadness. "Ashok," he said, "I know you resent this life. I know you didn't choose it. But tell me, is your rebellion against me worth the kingdom you are losing within yourself? Every lesson you delay, every skill you fail to master, you are not hurting me. I will be gone soon. You are only hurting the man you will have to become." The word struck Ashok like a physical blow. He had been so focused on resisting his father that he hadn't realized he was sabotaging himself. His procrastination was not freedom, it was a self-imposed prison. We must ask ourselves, is our procrastination a rebellion against someone else? A boss, a system, an expectation? If so, who is truly paying the price? The rebellion feels good in the moment, but the consequences are lived by our future selves. This is the simplest and most common driver. When a task is too big, too vague, too complex, the mind simply shuts down. It's like walking into a room filled with fog. You can't see the path, you can't see the destination, so you just stop moving. The task becomes a monolithic, terrifying shape in the mist, and your only instinct is to back away slowly. There was a librarian named Elena who cared for a beautiful, ancient library. It contained thousands of books, some centuries old. One night, a pipe burst on the top floor. By morning, the basement, the largest storage area, was flooded. Thousands of books were submerged in muddy water. Elena stood at the top of the basement stairs and looked down. It was a scene of utter devastation. Books floated everywhere, swollen and ruined. The task of saving them was so enormous, so overwhelming, that she couldn't move. She just stood there, paralyzed, tears streaming down her face. She spent the entire day doing nothing but staring at the damage, feeling the weight of it crush her spirit. A colleague found her there at sunset. She didn't scold her. She simply walked down the stairs into the ankle-deep water. She reached down, picked up one single, sodden book, and carried it back up the stairs. She placed it on a table. Then she looked at Elena and said, We can't save them all today. But we can save this one. And then another one. And then another. This is the antidote to overwhelm. It's the one book. The one paragraph. The one sentence. When the fog of too much descends, we must stop looking at the whole landscape and focus only on the single step directly in front of us. The Buddha taught that the path is made of steps, and the only step that matters, the only step you ever have to take, is the next one. We've talked a lot about the mind. But the mind does not exist separately from the body. In Buddhist practice, mindfulness of the body, kayanupassana, is foundational. Procrastination has a physical signature. Learn to read it. When the thought of a task arises, pause and scan your body. What do you notice? Is there tightness in your chest? A knot in your stomach? Shallowness in your breath? Tension in your jaw or shoulders? This is the body's response to the perceived threat. It's the physical manifestation of lizard brain's alarm system. Before you can work with the mind, you must first soothe the body. This is not woo-woo, it's physiology. When your body is in a stress response, your prefrontal cortex, the CEO part of your brain, goes offline. You literally cannot think clearly or make wise decisions. You are running on autopilot, driven by ancient survival circuits. The next time you feel the pull to procrastinate, don't try to argue with yourself. Don't try to reason your way out of it. Instead, do this. 1. Stop whatever you're doing, even if you're just scrolling. Just stop. 2. Close your eyes if it's safe. 3. Bring your attention into your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your seat on the chair. 4. Slowly scan upward. Notice your legs, your torso, your arms, your neck, your jaw. 5. Where is the resistance living? Is it a tightness? A heaviness? A fluttering? Don't judge it. Just notice it. Give it your full, gentle attention. 6. As you breathe, imagine sending your breath into that part of the body. Imagine the breath softening the tension, like warm water softening clay. 7. Stay with the physical sensation until it shifts, even slightly. Until it relaxes, even a little. What you are doing is communicating with lizard brain in a language he understands. He speaks in body sensations, not words. By soothing the body, you are telling him, there is no tiger. It's safe. You can stand down. Only when the body has relaxed can the mind begin to think clearly and choose wisely. There is a story of a monk who was walking through a village when a fierce dog ran out, barking and snarling, ready to attack. The monk didn't run. He didn't scream. He simply stopped, stood still, and slowly, gently, extended his open hand towards the dog, palm up, fingers relaxed. The dog, expecting a fight or flight response, was confused. It kept barking, but its tail began to wag, just slightly. The monk slowly lowered himself to the dog's level, still holding out his open hand. The dog sniffed it. The barking stopped. The monk gently scratched behind the dog's ears, and within minutes, the dog was lying at his feet, peaceful. The barking, snarling dog is your body's stress response when you face a task. You can't argue with a barking dog. You can't reason with it. You can only meet its aggression with calm, open presence. You extend the open hand of your awareness. You lower yourself to its level with compassion. You soothe it with your breath. And slowly, the barking subsides, and you can move forward together, in peace. We all make schedules and to-do lists. And we all break them. Why? Because we make them for a robot, not for a human. We assume we will be energetic, focused, and motivated at every moment of the day. But we are not robots. We are cyclical beings. Our energy ebbs and flows. Our minds have rhythms. The Buddhist approach to scheduling is based on mindfulness of the present moment, combined with wisdom about the nature of the mind. It's not about rigidly following a plan, it's about having a plan that is flexible enough to work with reality. Principle 1. Know your energy cycles. Pay attention to your own mind. When are you most alert? For many, it's in the morning. For others, it's late at night. Schedule your most important, most demanding tasks during your peak energy windows. Schedule mindless, routine tasks during your low energy times. Don't try to write a novel at 3 p.m. if you always hit an afternoon slump. That's like trying to swim upstream. Work with the current, not against it. Principle 2, the power of transition rituals. In a monastery, there are rituals for everything. The monks don't just go from sleeping to meditating. There is a bell. There is a chanting. There is a walking meditation to the hall. These are transition rituals. They prepare the mind. In your life, create transition rituals between activities. When you finish one task and need to start another, don't just jump. Create a small bridge. It could be as simple as standing up, stretching, taking 3 deep breaths, and stating your intention. Now I will begin writing. This signals to your mind that a new chapter is starting. It prevents the mental bleed from one activity to the next, which is often where procrastination creeps in. Principle 3, the art of the pause. Schedules fail because we try to do too much without rest. The mind is not a muscle that can be flexed indefinitely. It needs recovery. In Buddhist practice, there is a balance between effort and relaxation. In your schedule, build in deliberate pauses. Short breaks. Moments of doing nothing. These are not wasted time, they are essential for maintaining clarity and momentum. A young woodcutter got a job cutting wood in a forest. On his first day, he worked incredibly hard, cutting down tree after tree. He was exhausted by sunset, but proud of his pile of logs. The next day, he worked even harder, but at the end of the day, his pile was smaller. On the third day, he worked with all his might, his muscles screaming, but his pile was smaller still. He was devastated. He went to the foreman and said, "I don't understand. I'm working harder every day, but I'm accomplishing less." The foreman asked him, "When did you last sharpen your axe?" The young woodcutter stared at him. "Sharpen my axe? I haven't had time to sharpen my axe. I've been too busy cutting wood." The pauses in your day, the moments of mindfulness, the breaks you take, these are the times when you sharpen your axe. If you never pause, you work with a dull blade, and eventually, you stop making progress altogether. Procrastination is often a sign that your axe is dull, and your mind is screaming for a pause that you refuse to give it. Instead of judging yourself for procrastinating, ask, do I need to sharpen my axe? We don't exist in a vacuum. Our habits are shaped by the people around us. The Buddha emphasized the importance of noble friendship, Kalyanamitta. The company we keep can either support our practice or undermine it. If you surround yourself with people who procrastinate, who glorify busyness without productivity, who scoff at discipline, you will absorb their energy. It's like trying to keep a small flame alive in a hurricane. Conversely, if you spend time with people who are mindful, disciplined, and gently focused, their energy will support you. One of the most effective tools is a simple accountability partner. Find a friend, a family member, someone you respect. Tell them your goal for the day. Ask them to check in with you at the end of the day. Not to judge you, but simply to ask, how did it go? Knowing that someone else will ask creates a gentle pressure, a reminder that you are not alone in your journey. It externalizes your intention, making it more real. We've talked about daily tasks, to-do lists, and schedules. But procrastination operates on a much larger scale. We don't just procrastinate on homework or chores. We procrastinate on our lives. We postpone our dreams. We delay our happiness. We put off telling people we love them. We wait for the right time to start that business, write that book, take that trip. This is the deepest, most tragic form of procrastination. It's the belief that there will always be a tomorrow. But the Buddha's most famous teaching is about impermanence, anicca. Everything changes. Everything passes. This breath could be your last. This day will never come again. As we near the end of this very long journey together, I want to leave you with one final, essential teaching. It is the teaching that underlies everything else. All of this work, the mindfulness, the effort, the understanding, the scheduling, the accountability, is not about becoming someone else. It is not about fixing a broken self. It is about uncovering the self that has always been there, beneath the layers of fear, habit, and distraction. The reason we procrastinate is often because we feel we are not enough. Not smart enough, not disciplined enough, not ready enough. We wait to become enough before we act. But the Buddha's deepest teaching is that you are already enough. Right now, in this moment, with all your procrastination, all your fears, all your imperfections, you are complete. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. The purpose of this practice is not to turn you into a perfect, non-procrastinating robot. It is to help you see through the illusion that you need to be perfect before you can act. It is to help you act from a place of wholeness, not from a place of lack. A water bearer had 2 large pots. Each hung on one end of a pole he carried across his neck. One pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water. The other pot had a crack in it and arrived at the end of the long walk from the stream to the master's house only half full. For 2 years, this happened daily. The perfect pot was proud of its accomplishment. The cracked pot was ashamed of its imperfection, miserable that it could only do half of what it was made to do. Finally, one day, the cracked pot spoke to the water bearer. "I am ashamed of myself," and I want to apologize to you." "Why?" asked the bearer. "What are you ashamed of? For these 2 years, I have been able to deliver only half my load because this crack in my side causes water to leak out all the way back to the master's house. Because of my flaw, you have to do all this work, and you don't get full value from your efforts," the pot said. The water bearer felt compassion for the old cracked pot. "As we return to the master's house today, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path," he said. Indeed, as they went up the hill, the cracked pot noticed the sun warming the beautiful wildflowers on the side of the path, and this cheered it some. But at the end of the trail, it still felt bad because it had leaked out half its load. The bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path, but not on the other pot's side? That's because I have always known about your flaw. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back from the stream, you've watered them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate my master's table. Without you being just the way you are, he would not have this beauty to grace his house." Each of us has our own unique cracks. Our procrastination, our laziness, our fears, these are the cracks in our pot. We see them as flaws, as reasons to feel ashamed. But from a higher perspective, these cracks are what allow the flowers to grow. They are what make us human, relatable, and capable of bringing unexpected beauty into the world. The goal is not to become a perfect, uncracked pot. The goal is to see that even with the cracks, even with the procrastination, the water of life still flows. And along the path, beauty is being watered, often without us even realizing it. So, as you go forward from this place, from this long conversation, carry this with you: you are not your procrastination. You are the one who notices the procrastination. You are the awareness in which all thoughts, all feelings, all resistances arise and pass away. That awareness is already whole, already complete, already free. From this place of wholeness, action becomes not a struggle, but an expression. You don't act to become enough. You act because you are enough. And in that simple shift, the entire game changes. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. May you be free from the suffering of self-judgment. May you act with ease, create with joy, and rest in the knowledge that you are, and always have been, enough. Thank you for spending this time here at Monk's Temple. May your path be blessed with awareness, and may your steps be light.